As we have already incorporated add to cart and various other features, now is the time where we enable the payment gateway. Now we are going to proceed with configuring the PayUmoney payment gateway step by step. Let's open the official site for the PayUmoney payment gateway. Now let's click on the sign up button. I'm going to add my email here. I'll say nirmal@anaktech.com. Now it's going to ask me a few information which I'm adding. Now it is asking me the OTP. Let's proceed. Because we need the test credentials, we don't need to fill all the information here. So once you log in into the PayUmoney account, this is the dashboard where you see on the top there is a switch which shows that right now it is a live mode. Now because we want to test the gateway, and anyway it's not going to be the live application, so we are going to click on this switch. We'll make the test mode enable. Now we need to integrate the details. So I'm going to click here on this icon and you see that integrate details. Here I'm clicking. This we need to copy and keep it somewhere so that in future when we need we can utilize. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to copy the keys and the salt. You should also copy the test card credential. As you see that when I roll over the mouse on this link, it opens the data. This card detail is actually given by PayUmoney. This is a dummy card which you can test for. So this also you should copy and store it somewhere. Once these data are stored, let's move further. Now I'm clicking here on the developer guide. It is the Open SDK, so certainly we are using JavaScript. So here you see that integration kits we have. It gives the website integration, mobile app integration, and there are other links also. Here we are going to click on all kits. Now we are going to go with the Node.js kit. So here I am clicking on Node.js and this is downloading. So the file which I have downloaded gives you the sample codes. Now let me just unzip this file. So this is the sample code we have here. This code we need to integrate in our application with our credentials, of course. The HTML which I have opened right now shows you the mandatory fields which you need to set from Node.js application. For this you are going to set some or the other value. So let's go to the code and we start implementing. Now the payment gateway is going to be part of this proceed to checkout link. So when this proceed to checkout is clicked, the payment gateway is executed. So let's do that. We go to the cart now. We go to this proceed to checkout coding. And on click of this button, that is this link, we are going to call the process for payment gateway. I'll say const the function name which I've already mentioned in the event, that is payment click. Now inside this function I'm going to dispatch the action. So let's create the action first. I'll go to the actions. I'll say export const payment. Now when this payment is executed, we need to call an API. Of course, there will be a process of generating the hash code as well, but that we are going to do at the server side. So here I'm going to say await, and I'm making the call to the API, which is going to deal with the payment gateway. Let me make small a. So this Axios is going to be the object where I'm going to fix the method and the URL also. Post is the method type, and we assume that this is going to be the URL which we are going to create in a moment. And there will be the payload which I am passing through this data parameter. Let's go to the cart coding now. In this function, we are going to pass the detail which will be helpful to generate the hash code. Now let's just have the transaction ID first. This is going to be a unique ID which we generate all the time. So I'll say math.random. So here I'm taking math.random.toString split, and I'm taking the value which is after the decimal point. The reason is math.random is always going to generate a number between 0 and 1. There will be a dot and then some value. So only that portion we are taking. So this is the logic behind writing this entire line. Now let's create order information. This is going to be an object where we are going to pass all the order related details. This order information is the information we are passing to the gateway also, the payment gateway that is. Even if we do not pass, it's okay. The reason passing is that we always have the information at payment gateway also, that what was the order about. So in case if there is any discrepancy, we can certainly cross check. I'm going to loop through the items collection and going to return the value which will be part of the product after the stringify is executed on it. So the name, the price, and the quantity which we are joining and assigning it to product key. Now I'm creating a pay request object. So whatever information we are passing to the payment gateway, that I am assigning here in the pay request object. We already have the cart item price total. This is going to be part of the reducer. So we'll fetch that data here and assign to amount. Then all the fields which we saw earlier related to payment gateway, that we are configuring here. So order info is the object which we need to stringify. So that gets converted into the string. Now there are other details also which we are passing to the payment gateway. So the information I have given here is the first name, email, the phone number, and other information. If you want to add, you can do that. Now we are going to dispatch the action. So I'll say actions dot payment, and we are going to pass the object here, the pay request. Now here in the actions, we need to specify the URL, the API which we are going to create. So I'm going to say the local host, and the pay will be the API which I'm going to create on the server. Let's go to the server side coding now. That's where we are going to generate the hash code. I'll go to the routes here, opening a new file, which is going to be the payment. Now inside this, we are going to first of all import the required libraries. Express is the first thing we need to import. There will also be a payment object where I'm going to use Express. So this payment is the app object for Express, in fact. Now let's say payment.post. Post is the request which we are going to handle here. The API is pay, which we have already called from React.js. We'll have the request and response object here. So I have created the app data object here and also a target URL. Now I'm creating a function which will return the target URL, in fact. So payUpayment is the function name. So I'll say const payUpayment. Now this is going to return the target URL. The configuration will contain the merchant key and the salt. So that configuration we need to pass. Whatever you have copied earlier, that you can simply paste it here. And the same thing I'm going to do. I'll just copy the key, paste it here, and the salt, and paste the key. There will be a success URL in it. So I'm fixing that success URL at the moment. I'll say localhost. You can certainly give the path which you have developed, the page which you want to show on the success. And in case the payment gateway fails, then you can also have another URL. At the moment, I'm keeping it same. Now we are going to generate the hash string. So I'll say hash string is equal to. Now in the hash string, we need to pass few values. These values are very important. The file which we have downloaded earlier, it has those values in it, and we need to make sure that we follow the exact sequence. I'm copying that sequence and pasting it here to make sure that we do not miss any of the string, and all the values which we have ought to be pipe separated, which already is given by payu, so we don't have to worry about it. So when we type, we make sure that we separate each value by a pipe. So now let's say the first value is key. You see on line number 27, the sequence of values. So I'm saying config.merchant key, adding a pipe. The next is the TXN ID. So we already have received that in payparams object. Let me correct this to TXN ID, the same field that is. And let me save this. And amount also I am changing to the same value which is expected by payu. So the TXN ID, the next thing is going to be the amount. Let me add a pipe sign here. Now the next thing is the product info. Now that is actually order info. So let me correct this as well. Let me keep it same name to avoid confusion. So it's going to be product info, then the first name, Let me remind you that this sequence ought to be the same one, and you can certainly refer the documentation which you have downloaded from PayUmoney. Now here we have the last name, and let me also add rest of the values, that is email till last name. Now after email there is no value available, so I have just copied and pasted the same thing which is given inside PayUmoney documentation. So I'm following the same instruction. We need to make sure that we have same number of fields. So even if the pipe which you see right now are blank, because there is a count which we need to follow. And at the last we are going to attach the salt value. So config.salt, we already have that in config. So the hash string has all the values in the sequence.